Hello, everyone. This is the Midwest Take. I'm your host, Jacob. This is my co host, Josh. Josh.
Hey there, I'm Josh.
And welcome to the podcast. This is the first episode of the Midwest Take. And I just had a dog jump on my lap. Hi, Winston. And we're just two guys just recording a podcast in the backyard by a rip-roaring fire. And we're having a great time. Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yeah?
Excited to start this podcast.
Why'd you want to, you came up to me, a few weeks ago. I remember we were sitting in the same exact position, like not that long ago. And you told me, Jacob, I would like to start a podcast. Did you not, didn't you want to start a podcast for a while?
Yeah, I did. I think it's fun. I like listening to podcasts, and I think it's awesome. Just sitting in front of a microphone and putting your thoughts out there.
Didn't you try to start one with your brother at one point?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out, but had a cool name though, the J Show. I thought it was
J Show.
I thought it would be a good podcast. Just didn't work out so much, but here we are. Me and you starting a pod, so.
We got in the background. We have a few dogs just running around. We'll try to get past that for now.
Rambling bunch of mutts.
But Josh, so as of recent, I hear you've had a pretty eventful life. I hear you had a pretty eventful life over these past few weeks. What exactly transpired in these last few weeks?
Well, I got married, and we just went on the honeymoon. It's exciting. It's very exciting.
How long you guys been together?
Probably about a little over 7 years now. So I think it was time.
7 years?
I think it was time.
Well, what took you so long?
We just took our time, planned it out well.
Well, everyone takes their time. Everyone has their ebb and flows on how long they want to take a relationship. And, it didn't help over these last, 4 years. It's been just been a shit show, with quarantine
COVID
and everything like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That really put a whole damper on the whole, universe,
It did, but it's I feel like we're back to normal for the most part. I mean, some things have been changed for the.
Honestly, I think people kind of miss those days in a sense.
I
do
do.
You ever get that feeling?
I do. I miss the 3 a.m. Walmart trips.
Oh, the 3 a.m. Walmart trips?
Nothing is open late anymore.
Oh, yeah,
it's kind of
that's right.
sad.
Nothing's 24 hours anymore.
I miss the 24-hour run to the grocery store at 3 a.m. or run to Walmart to get a flat screen TV at 3 a.m. because
a flat screen
TV? Just because.
You're just getting a casual flat screen TV at Walmart.
Yeah, I just thought at 3 a.m.
Dude,
that I would
Walmart workers.
I would go get a flat screen TV at 3 a.m. Because why
really?
not? Because why not? That's the spontaneous part of life.
Right. Yeah, so a lot has changed in these last few years. And what do you think the best change has been in these last few years? Off just the dome, something that, a lot of negative things have happened, a lot of people were affected pandemic-wise. But is there, anything huge that, think has changed in your life compared to just, anyone else?
I'm happy with where I'm at. Making good money. Didn't think I'd be able to do that without a college degree. So
right.
I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm making good money, and I just never thought I'd make as much money as I could right now as I am. And it's exciting. And now I'm married and getting the life underway.
Back to college. I know at one point I wanted to actually be a biologist at one point. I
Holy cow.
Heavily wanted to go into environmental studies in my college years. Of course, a lot of things happened, and, I ended up dropping out, taking my so-called gap year, But that gap year then extended to be, more than a gap year,
It's bad. Don't take the gap year. That's where college ends. It usually doesn't. It's not a gap year. It's
right.
It's you're done.
Right. So what did you want to be for your college? Did you ever have any big aspirations?
I wanted to be a history teacher because I really liked my economics/government teacher, and really got me excited about those topics. I've always been like a history buff. I like to Google random stuff. I like to listen to podcasts that talk about history. But yeah, I did that. I wanted to do that, and college just wasn't for me necessarily. I'm not a book study kind of person. I'm more of a just worker. I just do it. I go do the job, and that's it. But so yeah, I just joined the workforce, and nothing wrong with that. It seems to be more of a popular thing these days.
Sure, yeah. And, the job field that you're in, you're making pretty solid money, I would say, for the most part. For reference, I used to actually also work at his same job site as well, and we both made some pretty solid money. But, over the years, money's nice and all, but happiness is better, I would say, right? Wouldn't you want to be happier,
It's all about the American dream.
The American dream. What's the American dream to you? Like, what's like the goal? What's like, say like you're, I don't know, say more like 20 years in the future. Where do you, I kind of feel like I'm at a job interview right now. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Like 20 years in the future.
I got a checklist, and marriage, check. 2.5 kids.
Ooh.
Next on the agenda, 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, what's the
half gonna be?
I don't know. I just always told my wife that we'd have 2.5 kids.
Oh, really?
Why not?
Well,
one boy, one girl, and a half.
Usually they'd consider the 0.5 would maybe be like animals or something like that.
Well, then we've got the 0.5.
Well, as we can hear from the sidelines, you have some animals. Is that right?
Yeah, we have 3 cats and a dog, and we love them all.
How do you manage?
It's a lot, but I don't know what we'd do without them.
Really? Yeah.
Each animal we have, each cat, and our one dog, I wouldn't get rid of any of them. I love them.
Yeah, and I only have 1 cat, and that's enough for me. Like, I don't even know how you deal with the animal farm that you're raising here,
Well,
especially like the cost and everything. Like 3 cats, you know how stinky 3 cats are? Like cats are
really
just like kind of nasty, like in a sense, but they keep to themselves. They're nice, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. We got 3 female cats. I mean, that helps. Having them all be the same gender helps because male cats don't really get along with female cats that well for the most part.
Right.
So, yeah. But they get along pretty well, and it's not too bad.
Now, going back to when you wanted to be a history teacher, in that kind of sense. What kind of sport would you coach? If you were, because you had those history teachers
they're all coaches. They were all coaches.
Some teacher had to be, especially if they were male. Usually they were some sort of coach.
Yeah,
to a team. So what would be your ideal sport to coach?
Well, I was in wrestling for 4 years, and I wasn't the best wrestler, but I would like to help out, even if it's just as a volunteer thing. I would have liked to do that, or honestly anything. I think soccer was fun. I only played 1 year, but you don't, as long as you're not the head coach, right? You could help out, in the conditioning part and just, inspirational speeches and stuff.
Right. I've always said to myself, if I were to ever become a teacher per se, I think I'd probably be like the woodshop teacher.
That would be a good job.
Woodshop was always super appealing.
I had a friend that was wanting to do that. Industrial technology, I think, is what they call it these days. I think it would be a pretty good job.
Did he ever do it?
He did not. He took that year off too, and
that
got him. The gap year gets you. It really does.
I see. Yeah, so I went to a community college, and they refer to that as the 13th grade, and I could definitely see why. It definitely, my college experience was, I'd say, my first year was pretty successful. I made the honor roll. At one point, I had a good GPA. And then just my next year, I just kind of fell out of it, Things just weren't, what they seemed. Would you recommend college to, people nowadays? Would you, say, because,
I would
our
say
parents instilled in us, get a good college education, get a good high-paying job, or raise a family, just like the classic traditional American means. Would you like nowadays? People are finding other ways of making ends meet, like people live stream. People, make a podcast like we are. People find so many other ways, and they're way more successful in, doing that. And shoot, they're just straight, they started doing this at age like 14 or whatever. They've never worked a job. They never had anything like that. So, like, would you like still want to go to college nowadays?
Well, I'd say for some people, college is good. It is harder if you don't go to college to make that high money. Like, if you want to make good money and you don't go to college, you end up kind of doing sometimes you end up having to do the harder work to get that good money. And I'm okay with that, but for some people, and there's some days where I'm like, man, if I just went to college, I could just be at a desk making the same money.
No.
But and I'd say that's also part of the American dream, being able to start a podcast and making bank off it, or
doing anything that you love.
Yeah, if you can do
if you love
something you love
yeah.
and make tons of money, I mean, that's the American dream right there. I mean, it's not for everybody, and it doesn't work out for everyone, but for those people that do it, it's good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. That's yeah, definitely college can for a lot of people, I would say college is pretty beneficial. Especially like trying to be like say like my little sister right now. She's trying to be some form of a optometrist right now, and she needs a lot of schooling for that to get through those fields. And she's super smart. She has plenty. Like, she's a senior in high school right now, and she has a lot of credits right now in high school right now, and she's doing even more credits this year. So she's like, on her way to be a pretty successful in her field. Especially with all those college credits. Say you graduate high school and you already have your associates, that's crazy.
I know it's really beneficial how schools are really helping kids out because, like, at my school, you could take college classes for free in high school as long as you got a certain grade or higher. So I ended high school with 9 credits, which isn't a lot, but I know people
that's pretty solid. I
like
would say.
my sister. I think she had like 1 semester of credits already done going into college, and my cousins that living in the Kansas area, I think they all had their freshman year done before they even started college. I mean, it's just crazy. And it's really beneficial because the price of college is just ridiculous. I mean, it's not really fair, and there's got to be a better way for everybody. I don't want people to get footed with the bill that aren't going to college.
Right.
But it's also not really fair how much college is costing. Because, like, my parents, they went to college for a lot less than people are these days, and you could actually afford to work your way through college back then and not go into debt when you get done.
Yeah.
And it's
well, but also at one point, back in the day, I would say, once you got out of college, I would say you were more guaranteed a job, if anything, back in the day, I feel like there was more demand for that, and people could find positions really easy. But it seems like nowadays, like college kids, they get done with an 8-year degree, and they struggle to find a basic job. They can't find anything in their field. They can't, get into the high-paid job that they were promised. That's a real shame, because you do all that schooling and you're thousands, tens of $1,000s in debt, and you can't even find the job that you were, wanted to do your whole entire life. Like, yeah, for some people, college is worth it. Others, especially if you're not very good in a school setting, I wouldn't say college is good for you. There's a lot of good, hardworking people in society right now that have no college degree, but they're super successful doing what they love. Well, that's debatable. But, making ends meet, being very successful, making good investments, and, you could do a lot. You could do a lot nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of people, this is what I would do if I went to college. I would make sure when I go into college that I'm going for something that is needed in the workforce, because, like, a lot of community colleges, if you look at their majors, it'll tell you how much of a need there is for that job.
Hmm.
I feel like in today's society, there's people going to college for things that they necessarily didn't go for back in the day.
Hmm.
Things that don't really, it's great that you have that degree, but there really isn't a job that fits that criteria. Like I've heard of people getting degrees in a bachelor degree of literature,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just not sure where that would be used. So and I know you have a dream and you want to do it, and you have a job that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if I went to college, I would definitely find something that there's a need for,
Right.
because I wouldn't want to get stuck with a degree. And I do know a lot of people that have college degrees that are not using that college degree,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate.
Well,
'Cause-
shoot, like I remember, like back in high school, I remember, I think it was my English teacher. My English teacher wanted to be a mathematician. Went all the way to get their degree in mathematics, or I don't remember how high they went. I don't think they ever said, but they wanted to be a mathematician. But then they, when you got to be a teacher or whatever, they wanted to teach as well. There was no openings for math teachers, so they ended up being an English teacher. I mean, a degree is a degree at the end of the day. As long as you have a degree, I mean, a good majority of companies love seeing that you have some sort of schooling for the most part.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
yeah, you don't necessarily need it.
No, I mean sometimes it's just experience. Some
But isn't that
companies like
sad?
experience over
You know?
education.
Right.
I don't know which one's better,
Mm-hmm.
but that's how it is sometimes. They'll take someone with 10 years of experience over 4 years of college.
How about going, get off the college, subject, because that's pretty divisive for the most part. It's, we'll get off that. We'll leave that. We'll leave that.
Hey,
for a
I,
little
I
bit.
am curious. What you said? What were you going to go to school for? And
Oh, I was gonna be part of the DNR at one point.
I thought
Yeah.
maybe you were going to be like a botanist, because Jacob the
Well-
botanist has kind of a ring to it.
There was some sort of prospect, when you're 19 years old, 18 years old, you set your goals on one thing, and you kind of tunnel vision for a little bit. You're just like, yep, I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna be that.
Well, in DNR, that's kind of crazy, because I'm pretty sure if you're DNR, you kind of got to go down the same path as like a state trooper
yeah,
type. I think you
Yeah.
might even have to go to some kind of academy.
right. And my mother, she was super like opposed to me doing anything like army kind of related or whatever, because she didn't want me to get shot. That was the biggest thing. She didn't want her only son, dying. So, I wasn't like too hot about going into military kind of stuff. So at high school, I actually job shadowed a DNR officer, a local DNR officer, and I went out, and we basically, the only thing that we did the whole entire day was we drove around in his truck, and he wanted to do like population counts on like snow geese in the area. So we went over to the Missouri River, and there was tons of snow geese flying in the sky, just an enormous amount. And so he quite literally, we posted up just at like the boat ramp, and he was just like, "Hey, I want you to estimate how many snow geese there are in the sky."
Oh boy, good
And
luck
I'm
with
like,
that.
As like a 16-year-old at this point, or maybe even younger, I don't remember.
Just throw a random number out there, like
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say there's a good 1,500.
And there's just like
my mind, I would say 1,500
for
exactly.
reference, it looks like it's snowing outside. It just there's a clouds of snow geese in the sky, and I'm like, it looks like there's like maybe I don't know 5,000 or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he didn't really say anything else after that. And
Oh,
then
I
we
thought he
ju-
was gonna be like, actually, there's 658.
Yeah, you
I
think
just
he-
counted them in my mind.
Yeah, you think he's got that mental fortitude, or he can just?
I've been
count,
doing
like,
this a long time. I looked at it for 1 second, and I could see that there was exactly 658 geese.
I did the equations in my head. He already determined that. He just wanted to tell me I was wrong.
The latitude to the longitude to the width of my shoe.
He put his finger up in the sky. He's like, ah, yes, the wind is blowing north, so that means there's a total of 5,242 geese, actually.
That reminds me of this episode of Ed, and Eddie, Double D, in his smart talk.
Oh, boy. Ed and Eddie, that's a whole different...
It just made me think of that, where Eddie is... It's an episode where they're pretending to be someone else. Like, Double D is pretending to be Ed. Ed is being Eddie, and Eddie is being Double D, and Eddie's making fun of Double D, and he's, like, talking about the calculations and all this stuff. It's oh man, it's hilarious.
I think my favorite episode from like Ed and Eddie was the boomerang episode. You remember the boomerang episode?
I do. In fact,
it was kind of creepy. Honestly, it was kind of creepy to see Double D as like a serial stripper.
Yeah, it's kind of laughable, like the adult references that you see now. But when you were a kid, you had no idea. Now you look back and you're like, how did they get away with that?
Yeah.
Like a lot of cartoon shows that writers and creators were like, let's just throw some dirty references in there because adults will think it's hilarious.
Oh,
but
yeah,
kids will have no idea.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of those. Did you have any like one of those childhood crushes on any of those characters? Like not Ed and Eddie, but like any of the cartoons growing up? Do you have like one go-to?
I'm sure I did. I don't think it was on that show, but there was definitely...
Wait, you didn't like Naz?
Naz?
Naz, the blondie?
Everybody on the show did.
Oh, you weren't?
She was a cool character. I'm sure I was like, wow,
I wasn't a big fan of Naz either.
I felt like
I just want to bring her up. What
felt
about
like
the Kanker sisters? Would you ever go for any of those? Oh, as a married man, you can't say that. I'm sorry. Can you say or not?
The Kanker sisters are kind of the rough. I don't know. They're rough, but yeah, it's.
All right. What about any other shows? What about any other was there like a pin like that you could just throw at a dartboard? You're like, yep, that's the one. Like I had the biggest crush on, like back in the day. Because I know I can.
What? Okay. Why don't you? What was your cartoon crush?
So the one crush that I did have, was from a show you probably have heard of it, Code Lyoko.
I do remember Code Lyoko. That was a cool show. It was kind of an out there show compared to like every other Cartoon Network show, but I really liked it.
I remember having distinct memories of getting back from school, and I would go running to my computer practically every single day after school, and I would go on the computer with the finest of dial-up internet, the finest.
Dial-up.
And I would watch. They actually did have like free episodes that you could watch on like Toonami or something like that.
Oh, is that on the Cartoon Network website?
Yeah,
where all the games and stuff were too.
I don't know what I really typed in. I just kind of smashed keys at the keyboard, and then I got somewhere eventually. So I remember rushing home and watching like an episode of like a Code Lyoko every single day. Same with the one called Zatch Bell as well. You remember Zatch Bell?
I don't remember that one. I know that Cartoon Network was loaded back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to go to detail, we got Code Lyoko, Codename Kids Next Door.
True.
You got Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, and Eddie, Foster's.
You remember Camp Lazlo?
Camp Lazlo was good. My Gym Partner's a Monkey.
Oh, yeah.
I know I'm forgetting one. What's New Scooby-Doo was good as well. I loved What's New Scooby-Doo.
Right.
I feel like I'm forgetting. Billy and Mandy.
What one?
Billy and Mandy.
Oh, Billy and Mandy. Yeah, that right.
What was your favorite?
Well, going back to my childhood crush, I would say the girl Alita from there.
Oh, from Code Lyoko?
She had pink hair.
Oh, yeah, the girl from the other side. I don't remember Code Lyoko that well, but
she was actually like an actual like human or whatever. She got transferred to the digital realm or whatever. And yeah, I was just always a sucker for the pink hair. I think the pink hair really
You like anime girls, don't you? You like they're cute.
Well,
I mean that was kind of not so much anime, but like
being like a 6-year-old, I didn't even know what anime was at that point.
True,
anime
really
wasn't
that.
Like watching like Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day. I had no idea what anime was. I didn't know the concept.
Oh, I loved Yu-Gi-Oh.
Like I didn't know Pokemon was. I didn't. I just watched it because it was cool. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I don't know. These cartoons are awesome.
I don't think anyone referred to it as anime back then. It was just like, hey, let's watch some Pokemon or some Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, yeah, no one did. No, because it was still,
It was
it was foreign. They had to, when they
it was in
brought it
its
over, it just advertises cartoons and everything
yeah, it
else
was in
that
its
you watch.
baby
Cartoon.
period back then.
The what?
It was in the baby period back then when it was the first
just like
shows were coming
localizing.
over.
Yeah, like it was definitely the Wild West back then. You could you definitely watch pretty much whatever what was given to you any given time. I remember watching God, you remember like a show called Reboot? Do you remember that show? It was like a French
Reboot.
Canadian show. It was like this old like CGI kind of show. It was kind of weird. Reboot. Yeah, it was like an early 2000s kind of show. I've only watched like a few episodes, but I have like fond memories of that.
Was
show.
that on Cartoon Network or?
I don't know for sure. And then there was a Total Drama Island. Remember Total Drama Island?
I didn't watch much Total Drama. I saw a lot of advertisements for it.
Right.
We actually, all the shows we listed before was a lot of the shows I watched, and also Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans. I forgot about that,
Yeah.
Right in the middle of my prime, all that we
What
got
do you
rid of
consider your prime?
like the shows we talked about, Codename Kids Next Door,
Okay. I thought you were talking about like
that, and I was huge into Naruto. Like every
Oh.
Friday, what was that called? Toonami on Friday nights.
yeah.
Yeah, I watched the new episode of Naruto. But one day we ended up getting rid of cable, and that was kind of where my cartoon watching ended for a while
Those were the dark ages.
until the streaming
Oh.
days.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, if I wanted to watch Naruto, I'd have to go to Walmart and buy a box set,
True.
which
true.
was rough because they were like $25 a piece, and when you're
True.
a kid,
True. Actually, you know what? Probably yeah, so that was my childhood crush. Yeah, big fan of that pink hair. Man, those guys have big foreheads in that show. You remember the big foreheads?
Yeah, they do.
You
They
could
do.
like serve a dinner plate on there, and just like eat food off that forehead.
Yeah, you could.
Like
could.
I didn't notice at the time, but then looking back after watching the show, after a little while, I'm like, God
The
dang,
early 2000s animation.
they got huge for. It's French. It's a French cartoon actually.
I didn't
It came
realize
over
that.
from France. Yeah, so it was French anime at that point, and yeah, it's just like I just forgot how big their foreheads were. I couldn't believe it. Going back. So tell us. So you're a married man now.
Yes, I am.
You're a married man,
yes,
right?
I am.
So how's married life? How's
It's
how's
good. It's
being
good.
married?
For the whole
Is
week.
it everything that you wanted it to be?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah?
For the 1 week that I've been married. Happy
1
1 week anniversary to my wife.
Wow.
1 whole week.
But it's probably
the re-
felt longer, right? Has
Yeah,
it
I
felt
mean,
like
I
you
felt
guys
like-
been,
I felt like we were already pretty much married anyway.
right? Because you
but-
get to a point in your life where you're like, so tight at the hip, where you're like, yeah, we're practically married.
Yeah,
You know.
but and you know what? We felt like we were pretty much married, but it is good to take that next step and just be like, we're pretty
Get it
much
on
already
paper.
married, but let's make that commitment.
Right.
Let's put the rings on the fingers and let's show that we are
Mm,
committed for
mm.
life.
So after the big marriage, which it was a fantastic.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a fantastic marriage. Had a really good time. People were feeding you shots, right? People,
Yes,
you
they
got
were.
super, destroyed. I got lucky. I got super lucky. I think I only had like 3 shots that night. And then I hear this guy over here. He's just like, yeah, everyone gave me like 11 shots on the night. I'm like, God damn, you guys are really like, how are you guys still standing right now?
I'm just amazed that I was counting.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised too.
I'm surprised I remembered how many, but
Mhm.
honestly, I was fine with it. That's special occasion. It was a great night.
Mm.
Everybody was dancing.
Right.
I would have danced on that dance floor all night because
Oh,
it was just
yeah.
such a good time.
Oh yeah, it was.
I would have danced all night because it was just
really
that
nice.
good.
It was really nice.
It was just a perfect moment, surrounded by
Mhm.
friends and family, and it was just great.
yeah, it was a beautiful time. It was a great night to do it too, and I think everyone had for the most part, had a really good time. So after the marriage, what'd you do after that? Because I know you were probably thinking, oh, it's time for honeymoon time. It's time to, go somewhere, do something. Get out of Iowa. Get out of Iowa.
Yeah,
Where like? So you went on your honeymoon, right?
yes, we did.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
We went to Colorado for a couple days. We spent the night in Denver.
Uh huh.
Got some good pizza at this pizza place. My wife, she is big on the ricotta cheese pizza now.
Ricotta
so if you've never had it, try it. It's pretty good. She likes Alfredo sauce and ricotta cheese on her pizza. It's different, but exciting.
I can tell that's it sounds pretty fancy. Sounds like pretty high class stuff. Ricotta?
Yeah, ricotta cheese and Alfredo sauce. It's,
Like I'm a big baby Swiss kind of guy.
You like the mild Swiss, huh?
I do like a big I'm a big fan of the Swiss cheese. Big fan. But So you guys went to Colorado. What was like, the best parts about
the view of Colorado. Yeah. Every time you like get to Denver and you see the mountains in the background, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Like picturesque kind of.
I know, and I wish we could have went up into the mountains. It's October now.
Was there snow there? Yeah.
Denver's actually pretty mild. We went on a trip a couple years ago in January, and it was like 60 degrees in Denver.
Right.
Which is kind of wild because, you'd think Denver in January, you'd think they'd have like a foot of snow. But Denver's like sitting in the right spot that it's actually pretty mild year-round. Now, the mountains had snow in it. I mean, we went up to Estes Park that time, and there was no snow up there. It was like 60 degrees. But the mountaintops definitely had some snow.
But it was beautiful weather. Beautiful
oh,
weather.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you think Colorado, I'm not going to go to Colorado in January, but we had a good time. We went up to Estes, got to see the Stanley Hotel. It was a great time.
Oh, is that the haunted one, right?
Yeah.
Is that the haunted hotel?
We went on the night ghost tour. We took a lot of pictures. We didn't necessarily have an experience there with any ghosts, but I would recommend it. It was a good time.
What's like, they probably have some crazy stories that they tell you. Like what are they, like, what is that? Like, I've been told about the Stanley Hotel at some points, but I never, like, they always said, like, oh, yeah, you got to go there, you got to experience it. Like, we had a paranormal encounter. What's the big ones they
so the
talk
tour
about
really
there?
doesn't take you much into the hotel because for the privacy of the guests, which is understandable.
Wait, people stay there?
Yeah, people do stay at the Stanley, and you can go in the lobby, but you can't go up to like the room where the Shining, which I don't think I don't think the Jack Nicholson film was actually filmed there. They said that was filmed somewhere else, but I think the original older one was filmed at the Stanley.
Really?
But the tour really, it takes you through the music hall that's off to the side, and there's a basement in the music hall, and they say there's a few ghosts in the music hall.
Yeah.
But what was really cool about the tour is the basement of the Stanley. You go down there, and they have these old, like, tunnels, like, in, like, these dirt tunnels underneath that I guess the people that worked there used to go through these tunnels. And it was pretty cool. I mean, they say there's like little ghost kids that like to pop up behind the dirt mounds in these tunnels. I didn't see any. I'm not to say that I don't believe in ghosts, but
You think you've ever had like a paranormal like experience before?
I don't believe that I have, and and to be fair, I'm not disclaiming that I don't think ghosts exist or something like that.
Well, I am.
You don't believe in ghosts?
No, I don't know, but I just want to say that.
I don't know what to believe about the afterlife and ghosts and stuff,
right. But you don't think you've had like an
I
experience
personally
where you're
never
just like,
had an experience that I was like I believe in ghosts now.
You
so if that happens, I'll let you know and I'll talk about it on this podcast.
Right, yeah.
But until then,
I'm curious.
Until then, I don't believe I've had any paranormal experiences.
I don't think I've ever had a paranormal experience either. Everything's been pretty mild my whole entire life. But I've definitely seen some stuff. But seeing is believing is more than seeing. You could definitely draw a lot of parallels to a lot of things. Being it was just the wind or something. What's that little speck that we saw on this camera? Oh, it was just like a dust particle flying through the sky. But yeah, I don't really know.
I mean, maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah,
we'll hit the paranormal and maybe some aliens.
Oh, some
some
aliens. Actually, have you
UFOs.
ever had an alien encounter before?
No, but I think it'd be really cool if I did.
So, I've never had per se an alien encounter. Like, there's nothing that I've seen in the sky. Like, have you ever seen one of those like Chinese lanterns flying through the sky at one point?
Yeah.
You ever seen that? Maybe at one point I would have believed. Like, I think I saw one in the sky flying once. I'm like, oh my god, what is that? Like, what is that? Just like, crazy thing up there. Like, why is it just like hovering there? And then it drops like 500 feet from the sky, and you're like, oh, what happened to it? The craziest thing that I saw wasn't necessarily a UFO, but have you ever seen the Starlink satellites before?
I assume I have. I know some of the stars up in the sky are actually satellites, right?
Well, so actually, we got plenty of stars out in the sky. It's actually beautiful out right now. So craziest thing, my dad and I we're avid hunters. Iowa, Nebraska. We're big hunters around here.
The pheasants.
Yeah, at least I am, anyways. And so we were out hunting at the beginning of September, and we hunt mourning doves. So basically, all we do is just sit out in the middle of a field on a bucket and wait for these little birds to come around. And so we set up at like shooting times like 7 a.m. or whatever. And we set up and we're looking like we're just kind of waiting, whatever. We're just kind of looking to the sky and enjoying the beautiful morning. And then all of a sudden, just like a white streak appears. It just appears in the sky, like pretty much like cutting the sky right in half. And there's just these little dots just like in the sky. And it's just like a bright flash of light, and we're just looking at these dots like flying through the sky, like what is going on? Like what are we looking at? Are we witnessing a UFO right now? We had no idea what was going on. And then
That's pretty wild.
And turns out they started slowly fading like beyond the horizon. And so then my dad looked it up, and turns out it was actually Starlink satellites that they, were sending up. And they're basically, their whole thing is they're like, look like little dots in the sky, and they like follow each other. It's a strange thing. I have a photo of it too. I got a pretty good photo of it, but apparently it happens all the time in California.
Sounds like a pretty wild phenomenon.
Something like that. But that was like the strangest thing I think I've ever seen. They weren't UFOs, of course, but it was I would say the closest thing I've seen to a technically unidentified object in my head.
Right. I will say I've seen a lot of shooting stars.
Right.
And it always throws me off every time I see it. I'm like, did I just see a shooting star?
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Just don't forget to make a wish. It happens so fast.
Don't forget to make a wish. Well, do. All right, so back to Colorado adventures. Yes.
Yes, so we spent 2 nights in Colorado. The first night in Denver, got some good pizza. Next night we went to Fort Collins.
Wait. Well, when in Denver, did you do in Denver? Did you see any? Like, of course, marijuana's legal over there, but you guys probably, being from Iowa, you guys are probably not too into that, right?
No, I mean, I know a lot of people like to indulge, and
Right.
Let them indulge.
Let them indulge.
Yeah, go for
honestly, words to live by. Amen.
Go for it.
Amen to that.
If that's what you're into,
when
enjoy
in
it.
Rome, do as the Romans do.
Do as the
honestly.
Romans do.
Yeah. So then you said you went to Fort Collins, right?
Yeah, we went to some good stores there. I'm always on the hunt for GameCube games.
Oh, yeah.
So they had a good game shop there with a lot of GameCube games.
GameCube, isn't that like super old at this point? Isn't that like pushing like 24 years old at this point?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say it's probably like very early 2000s, but
Yeah.
people are really into it because there's so many kid-friendly games. I mean, I know they have the Nintendo Switch now, but
Yep.
GameCube is the OG,
Mm.
and not the OG for, some people would say
For
this
Nintendo.
Nintendo NES, but for my generation, the GameCube was the OG system for me, and I do love the NES. I mean, playing Super Mario Brothers 3, Duck Hunt, Growing up, we did have an NES too.
Yeah.
And, it's a great system as well. GameCube was my generation system, I would say. And I just love playing those old games like Monkey Ball, Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. I mean, it's just loaded with great games.
Cool. So you found some GameCube games.
Yes.
What other, like, what else? What else did you really, like, did you find any, I know you're big into the vinyl scene. Did you find any vinyls?
When
you were there?
I didn't really look because I had a buddy give me like 100 old classic rock vinyls like a month ago, and I'm pretty set right now. I have a shelf.
Any good ones in that, or no?
There definitely was. I know there was some REO Speedwagon.
Ooh, Speedwagon.
There was Rumors by Fleetwood Mac was in there, an original.
That's pretty solid.
And I was actually at a record shop in the town that I live in, and I found an original Beatles Abbey Road. Ooh. I mean, the cover was a little rough, but I mean, still, it's an original Abbey Road.
Right,
I mean, I would take that any day over a Walmart reprint of Abbey Road. I mean, come on. Like, I'm a vinyl nerd. I'm a GameCube nerd.
Are you ever afraid to play like those old vinyls? Do you think they're just gonna like crumple into dust, like if you try to play them on the player?
No, I don't worry too much. I mean,
because nowadays vinyls are made actually pretty strong, like they're pretty durable. But like vinyls back, before probably the 2000s, super fragile. If you like make any sudden moves, it's completely ruined. That's why it's kind of sketchy buying those old vinyls,
Yeah, but I always figure I can find another one if that one breaks. I mean, it's worth playing.
I cracked my fair share of vinyls. Like,
well, it's funny how the vinyls like now are built better, but they don't sound better.
No.
The old ones sound much better.
Right.
It's kind of wild. Like I mean, what do you expect out of a rap vinyl? But I bought a Mac Miller Blue Side Park.
Oh yeah,
I believe is the album's name. But I was kind of disappointed in the quality, and I kind of should have saw that coming. I mean, rap on records, and like the newer ones, the newer vinyls just aren't made to last. Like the quality's just not there.
Yeah, but they are pretty sturdy. They're pretty durable. You could probably use them as weapons if someone tried to enter in your house.
I feel like that sounds like an 80s video game, like throwing records at some kind of boss character.
Do you think you could throw if the opportunity came up to you? Do you think you could throw a mean vinyl? Like if someone I'd pull your door, like you're grabbing the albums, you're just like eat this, and then chuck a vinyl at them.
I'd pull the old Odd Job from James Bond. Instead of a hat, I'd throw a vinyl, and it would just like take someone out.
Good old James Bond.
That reminds me of the Austin Powers. I think it's the first one. The Odd Job reference, the guy that throws the shoe and
that's right.
Beheads people with a shoe.
I always thought if anyone like broke into my house, I'm always I'm a big couch dweller. I love couches. Like I'll sleep on any couch that you give me. I would much prefer sleeping on a couch than I would like an actual bed. They're just like every time I've been at like a house, like say I've stayed over, they're just like, oh yeah, the guest bedroom's free. I'm like, I'll take the couch.
I know, I do like a good couch.
Yeah, I like me a good couch. Since I would sleep on couches so often, of course, growing up, I've always thought, hey, if someone were to break in, like what would I do? Like if someone were to walk in through the front door, like what would be like my first go-to weapon?
I hear ya.
And back in the day, we had one of those big, chonky, like, remotes. These massive remotes that just, like, had every button underneath the sun on them. And so I've always said to myself, if someone broke into my house, I would just chuck that remote. I would, like, defend my, whole entire household with a remote.
That's awesome.
Because it's just, like, right next to me because I'd always be changing channels. And then I thought about, falling out. All right, remote's my go-to. Like, that's my weapon of choice if I had to choose.
Yeah, I would.
Like something goofy like that.
That's funny because the way my mind works, I'm always thinking of, like, things that could happen. No. And I'm always thinking, like, what would I do in this situation? Like, wherever I'm at, I'm like, what would I do in this situation? And if someone broke into my house, I would definitely take the 9-iron on them.
The 9-iron.
Yeah, I keep a golf club in the closet. But, yeah.
For future intruders to know. future intruders listening
Yeah,
to
you
this
don't want
podcast.
to. You don't want to see my golf swing. I'll tell you that. Try me.
Oh boy. Yeah, just have that right at your side at all times. That's funny.
I've got a pretty good splice, but don't try me.
I'll trust you. I trust you on that. So back to Colorado. So you said you ate like some ricotta pizza, right?
Yes.
Had the ricotta pizza. Any other good eats?
We did go to In-N-Out. A lot of people think that's like the greatest food ever.
I think so.
I think it's good. The hand-cut fries, I believe they are. All natural burgers. It is good. It is good. And so we did go there, and we also got some Buc-ee's beef jerky.
Buc-ee's.
Between Denver and Fort Collins, there is a Buc-ee's gas station.
I've always wanted to go to Buc-ee's.
And it lives up to the hype.
Really?
It is it's like the size of a Walmart in there.
Wow.
Maybe not that big, but they got about 80 gas pumps. And you go in there, and it's huge.
And that's the one with the goofy looking gopher on the front,
yes,
right?
it is. Yes,
you
it is.
see on T-shirts and then stickers, and basically people make their whole lifestyles as Buc-ee's. I think I saw a Buc-ee's suit the other day. Someone was repping a Buc-ee's suit.
Yeah, my mom and dad recommended it to us. I think it's a Texas-based chain.
Yeah.
They went down to one in Texas, and so we went to the one, I think it was in Johnsville, Colorado. Yeah, you go in, and they got a lot of home decor, a lot of clothing. Got a whole deli full of different beef jerky flavors and a bakery. And then, I mean, if you're a big barbecue guy or gal, they're chopping up fresh brisket and barbecue pork.
Man, it sounds like you're advertising right now.
It's
We're
this
not
episode
by
is not
Buc-ee's.
sponsored by Buc-ee's, but I want to tell you, if you haven't been to a Buc-ee's, go for it. It's their beef jerky right out of the counter. Delicious.
I have to check out
It's delicious, and they're fun.
Buc-ee's.
The employees are fun. They throw some brisket on the table, and they're like, "Fresh brisket on the table," and everybody goes, "Fresh brisket on the table."
They're singing at the Buc-ee's.
Nah, they're just
having fun.
they like to have fun.
Ah, I see. Yeah, it sounds like a good place. Sounds like a good place. I have personally never been to a Buc-ee's before.
It is a southern chain, so
yeah.
I don't think we'll be seeing one anytime soon here in Iowa.
You never know. Things are expanding. It always seems like things around here are expanding at a snail's pace. Every single chain, whatever, it takes about, some places we'll get today, we'll get about 10 years later.
I know,
it seems like things take super long time, especially around this area.
It seems crazy to me though, because like if you put a Buc-ee's or an In-N-Out like in Omaha or Council Bluffs, I believe they would do great. One Buc-ee's on I-29 in Council Bluffs, and everybody from Omaha, Council Bluffs, everybody that's driving through I-29 in Iowa, people would probably get off I-80 just to literally go to Buc-ee's.
But you know what people actually go for, in Iowa per se? They go to the world's biggest gas station.
Fair.
But have you ever been to the world's biggest
gas
station before?
I have. It's pretty big. Is that over by Dubuque? I can't remember.
Pretty close. It's
by the Quad Cities?
Yeah.
Quad Cities.
Yeah. That is a pretty crazy place. They have
It's
everything.
like a giant food court in there, right? Like
I think there's just there's something like that. I know they have like a whole restaurant in there and other bits and bobs, but yeah, it's a massive place. Like people come from all over. I was seeing like license plates from like Alaska there.
That's
Maine,
pretty wild.
Florida. But I recently went there to the world's biggest gas station because my sisters and I took a Chicago trip recently.
Yes.
And that was lots of fun. But that's maybe for another time.
Yes, many more episodes to come.
Let's finish up your Colorado time.
Yes, so
the Buc-ee's was amazing, right?
Yes, the Buc-ee's was
amazing.
Great.
The In-N-Out was good.
The In-N-Out was good. Yes,
In-N-Out
we had
was
a
good.
lot of good food. In fact, it was
Also,
too much
in
good food.
Colorado. Like Colorado In-N-Out honestly doesn't sound too appetizing to me. Like you got to have those good West Coast like like when I went to California at the beginning, like in July or whatever for an expo, um, I had In-N-Out there, and it was way better than the time I had it in Arizona. Way better.
That's
It
fair.
was just like
That's fair.
maybe it was just me kind of gaslighting myself, thinking it was like
Oh, I hear you on that though, because the first time I had In-N-Out was in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great.
Mm.
I thought it was really good. And I'm not ripping on the Colorado In-N-Outs, but I think it was better in San Antonio.
Mm.
And that's just like any place. That's a chain. You have
Right.
different locations, and they do things a little differently.
Yeah.
Might even have different providers that give them the meat and the potatoes, and it was still great. I would give In-N-Out a shot. I mean, it's really cool. They got the old fashioned uniforms on, and they got the secret sauce.
Did you get a hat?
I did not get a hat.
Oh, you didn't get
I guess
a hat?
it's not really a secret sauce, by the way. Either it's the In-N-Out sauce. It's kind of like
Isn't
Big
it
Mac
Thousand
sauce.
Island?
Well, I think everything's a mix of Thousand Island.
I
would
thought it was
assume
like a
Big Mac sauce. kinda-
Thousand Island kind of base. You know, every single sauce is basically like. You
got
know,
some
your
pickle relish
standard,
and
put mayo in there,
mayo,
put ketchup in
ketchup,
there, and then whatever little
some pickle
thing,
relish.
sriracha if they really want to or whatever.
I know every place has their own sauce.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good.
Yep.
So we spent the night in Denver, spent the night in Fort Collins. Colorado is just gorgeous. But we wanted to go somewhere we hadn't been. So we went to Fort Collins because we'd been to Denver before. It's beautiful up there. I mean, if it wasn't October, I think we probably would have went up into the mountains as well and done some stuff. But then we went on to drove to Wichita, Kansas, because it was a little closer to home. We kind of want to start making our way home.
What'd
Wichita's
you
a
think of
nice little
Wichita?
town. I mean,
Yeah, it's nice. I've never been, so I don't know.
a lot of people kind of say it's not the safest town.
Right.
And I mean, I wouldn't go driving around at night, but I think that's any big city. I'd say any big city, you don't go driving around to bad areas at night. We went to some shops the next day, and it seemed all right,
Right.
Like every big town gets a bad reputation, but you just don't go driving around at night in the bad areas.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, it was good. So we went to Wichita for a night, and then we headed back closer to home. Stopped in Omaha. Saw you.
How was Omaha? Omaha's good?
Omaha's always good. There's a lot to do in Omaha. And it's not too far from home, so that's
right.
I mean, we went
Omaha's
with
a
you.
fine place.
Went with you to a nice arcade buffet, and that was.
Yes, the pizza machine, a fine delicacy in.
And
in
we're
Omaha,
also not
Nebraska.
sponsored by Pizza Machine, but I would recommend going because you can get a pass for unlimited games for all day or 90 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a crazy concept to play as many arcade games as you want for 90 minutes. I mean,
I would argue to say, and this might jeopardize, future things, but I'd argue to say that Pizza Machine is better than Dave & Buster's.
I would agree.
I would say it's better in a sense of the value, the straight value that you get at that Pizza Machine right there was way better than any other times I've ever been to Dave & Buster's. Because at Dave & Buster's, I'm at minimum spending like $100, just loading up tickets on a card,
Yeah,
drinks
it's not
for
really worth it.
alcohol, say if you got food or something like that. You're legit spending like $100 there. But here, we just played one flat rate of like
$38,
$38
something like
or
that.
that.
You got 90 minutes,
We
go
got
karts,
90 minutes
bumper
of playing
cars.
all the games in that whole entire facility. We got a buffet, which was,
The buffet was okay.
it was okay.
It was more for kids.
Yeah, more
That's
for
fine.
kids. More Chuck E. Cheese kind of stuff. Did you ever go? Wait, speaking of that, have you ever been to the Chuck E. Cheese?
I did. There
Yeah,
used to
did
be
you
a Chuck E.
frequent
Cheese.
a lot? I was
in
a
our
big
town.
Chuck E. Cheese and goer.
Yeah, I thought it was good,
huge.
but when I was really little, we had a place called the Pizza Peddler. And they had a coyote that would bring a mechanical
Pizza
coyote that
Peddler.
would bring the pizza out to you on a track. And, it wasn't the cleanliest place, but it didn't matter because we enjoyed it. And, half the games didn't work, but who cared? Because we were little kids and it was just fun to be there. They had a jungle gym. I mean, it was just,
Well,
I'm getting all nostalgic.
This coyote guy sounds like a hell of a guy.
Yeah, I wish I could
for
remember
sure.
his name. I remember him bringing out my
No.
birthday cake one
Well,
time.
maybe we'll get reminded by some lovely comments. Maybe if someone,
True,
whatever
true.
our listeners.
If
might
anybody
say.
knows about the Pizza Peddler, then they got photos, memories.
And
Share,
I'm
please.
sure, whatever subjects we do bring up, will probably get corrected also there too. We're bound to say some pretty loony stuff.
Yeah, and we're cool. We're cool. You want to give us comments, concerns, feedback. Feedback's always good when you're starting a podcast
Yeah, and
because
if you wanna say who has the sexier voice, go for it.
And I'd just like to point out that I think we shot ourselves in the foot. We are definitely not getting any future. Dave & Buster's definitely not going to ask us to do any advertisements on this podcast.
Nah, I don't think they were.
Maybe
really
Pizza Machine. Pizza Machine might.
Pizza Machine.
I'd rather have a sponsor by Pizza Machine than I would.
Yeah,
you got to support your local
a
business.
good local business, yes. But Dave & Buster's is pretty, all around the U.S. They'd probably get the word out a little bit more for the
True.
Midwest take.
Yeah, and I'm not ripping on Dave & Buster's. They're very cleanly. It's just, I guess if I started an adult arcade bar.
What would be like your aesthetic that you'd like? Say if you were to start a business, because I would say personally, like I for the last as my taste have grown away from being Mr. Wildlife guy, I would say my tastes have grown to the more chill, kind of more relaxed. So I've always, for the last 5-6 years now, wanted to start a coffee shop.
I could see that.
If
I
I
could see
ever-
that.
I'm a big coffee drinker.
Okay,
Big
I have this
but
vision.
What would be yours?
I have this vision that me and you start a business, and you're in charge of the coffee side, and I'll just sell records and
lots of Crown Apple, right?
Yeah, we'll have one side will be a coffee shop.
Right?
One side will be a coffee shop. The other side will be a bar.
Oh,
and we'll just play vinyl records and we'll sell just nostalgic stuff. It'll be like a junk shop. We'll sell like retro stuff, and we'll also have coffee because you're a big coffee guy.
I am. I love me a good cup of
And I think it'd be cool to have like DJs or like live music. I just think it'd be really cool. It's a dream.
It's a dream?
It's a dream. I have a dream.
How far would you say that'd be out, to where we're currently at? If we made some moves, relatively soon, how far would you say that dream would be? Like next 10 years?
Yeah, I would say it's a few years out at least. I mean,
it would have to be in the works for sure.
Yeah, it's a dream right now.
Be in the works.
But it would be exciting because I'm sick of working for the man.
The man. The man is.
I'm sick of working for the man. I want to be the man.
The man is bringing him down.
I want to be the man.
He wants to be the boss.
No, but I want to be the man that's like treats the employees good, and not to say like where I work. My work is fine. I'm just saying, if I was a boss, I would try to be a good boss.
I can see you being a good boss.
I'd really try to take care of my employees. I would really feel their hardships. I'd really feel, if they're having issues.
Right.
Because I feel like I care a lot, and I worry about people, and I just think it'd be, but to get back to the topic, I think it'd be exciting. A coffee shop / record store / junk shop.
Right. All right. So back on that. So you went to the Omaha.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Pizza Machine. Yes.
And it was good. And then you took us out to some of your local hangouts.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I've frequented.
Yeah,
Omaha.
I mean, you've taken us out to Blackstone, which is a nice area. But
I frequented Omaha
we
quite a bit.
Tried out a different district yesterday. What did you call that place?
That place was Benson. Benson
Benson
it's
district
another little district in Omaha.
See, that's a foreign concept to me because where
they
we
have
live,
like
we're not
little
big enough.
subdivisions. It's a town. It's more like a
Big city
subdivision
thing,
of
yeah.
Omaha, pretty much. Just like how you have the Blackstone district. All cities kind of have little
districts,
like little areas that are like separate from the main city of Omaha.
See, that's cool to me because we're not in a huge city where we live.
Nah.
And we don't really have. I mean, we have neighborhoods. We don't really have districts. And it's cool because you have so many different districts, and Omaha it's really a great town that's not that far away from where we live. It's just really cool, like how many different districts they have, and
There's a lot of variety.
I mean, there's something for everybody. I mean, you
There's
can
a lot.
whatever your clique is.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever your group of people that you want to hang out with, I'm pretty
Mm.
sure you could find your people in Omaha.
Yeah.
Like you could find your group. If you're an emo, you could find a group of emos. If you're into whatever you're into, if you're a sports guy, they got so many sports bars. Oh boy.
Right.
I mean, man.
So then, Omaha was good. Omaha was good. And then, then after that, then you came back to your humble abode, which we're recording in the backyard of. And were you happy to see your own bed again?
I was happy to see my own bed. I was
And your
happy to
animals.
see. Yes, I was happy to see our cats and our dog. I love them all, and we missed them. It's been a while since we went on a trip or a vacation, so it was weird not having them around for a week.
Do you kind of wish you would have went a little further?
Yeah,
Did that thought ever come to your
Well,
mind?
we were
Because
thinking-
Colorado's far. It's far, but it's not like far.
Well, we were thinking maybe spend the night in Denver and then maybe go to like Salt Lake City or maybe Santa Fe or Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely on like my list of places I'd like to go. I mean,
Right.
I just think it would be incredible to go on like a cross country drive.
Right.
I mean, I absolutely want to drive through Utah, Arizona, and see some of those desert with like the rock sculptures, that you see.
Like the arch.
Yeah.
The arch, yeah.
Well, you see those like rock formations, and I just think that'd be really cool. And I think it's really fascinating. Like the old Native Americans when they lived in the mountains or the cliffs. They had those like cliffs villages with like
Oh,
the
yeah.
ladders. You know what I'm talking about? It's built
I do
into
know.
the side of a cliff.
Yeah, like little kind of mountain people. A little
Yeah,
bit, but,
I
in the
think
hills,
I want to visit those. I just think it'd be so cool to visit those ancient. I just think it'd be
like
awesome.
civilizations a little
Yes,
bit.
yes, and I would like to do some hiking someday as well up in the mountains. Maybe not the Rockies, but maybe down south a little bit, like Arizona, Utah. I just think it'd be so cool.
Well, whatever you do, don't fall your way into a pit and have to cut your own arm off, to get out. Yeah, have you seen that movie? What was it called? It was
165,
I think that's
something like
all
that.
the
I think it's got
hours.
James Franco in it, maybe.
Is it Franco?
I,
I've only seen it like once. All I remember is like the gut wrenching scene where he had to like cut off his arm, and I couldn't my little mind couldn't believe that at that point. But that was a good movie, from what I
yeah,
remember.
if you're listening and it wasn't James Franco, go ahead and correct us, because
it was probably I don't know. It was probably like Henry Cavill or something like that, or Jake Gyllenhaal maybe.
it might have been.
Yeah, it's probably James Franco.
I
don't know.
consider myself kind of a movie buff.
Franco's been in a lot. He's been in a lot of good movies.
Growing up, my dad would quiz us on what movie is this from and stuff like that. So I consider myself a little bit of a movie buff. But
Would you ever watch or play those games like the Seen It franchise? Would you ever
I never really played those games. It was
Yeah.
more like we were playing our own game of that. Like my dad would just say, he'd make a Beverly Hills Cop reference and be like, "What movie is this from?" He'd show us a lot of awesome older 80s and 90s movies like The Fugitive and Passenger 57 and my wife just mentioned the movie The Firm. My
The
dad,
Firm?
that's like my dad's favorite movie. I don't think that's a 90s movie. I think that might be early 2000s with Tom Cruise. He is weirdly obsessed with that movie. I do not know why.
the movie or Tom Cruise?
Maybe both.
Probably both.
He might just
Probably
be
Tom
he might just
Cruise.
be a nostalgic Top Gun guy that just loves Tom Cruise.
Are
'cause
you a
of Top
fan
Gun.
of the Mission Impossible series?
I've
at
watched
all?
a couple of them. I thought they were pretty good. I
Yeah.
thought they're good movies, but
Have you ever watched the newer one, the
I haven't seen the newest one, but I think they're
whatever
pretty
it's
good.
called? I feel like that's kind of in the same
Oh.
kind of the same realm as the Fast and the Furious movies right now. to
True.
Where there's been so many of them
True.
where you're just I don't even know what's going on
I-
anymore. But
I-
they sell like gangbusters still.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
still oh yeah, this movie made $1 billion. Next in the Mission Impossible franchise, and that's in the Fast and Furious franchise. I can't
True.
believe the train is still going on. You know,
That's true. It's
for
a
the
lot.
last, Mission Impossible has been going on what 90s, has it, or early 2000s?
Maybe I think it might have been early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Same with Fast and Furious.
But
too.
right now, Hollywood is all about sequels and remakes. I mean, they just put out a.
Speaking of that, the Joker 2, and it has some other French acronym at the end. I don't remember what it's called. But apparently, so that movie just came out on Friday, and that movie is bombing.
Oh, is that the one with Gaga? Does she play Harley Quinn, or what's she supposed to be?
Yeah, she plays
in
Harley
that?
Quinn, and that movie is straight bombing right now because people didn't expect it was going to be a musical.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so
why would you do that? The first one was not a musical. Why would you try to suddenly make it a musical?
I think they were trying to go for something, a conceptual kind of thing. Like, why not? Let's get a little quirky with it, whatever. I think, honestly, it's more of, we got Lady Gaga in the film.
See,
let's use her voice for good,
I mean, I don't think she'd be a bad Harley Quinn, although I think the lady from The Wolf of Wall Street, she's a way better Harley Quinn.
Oh, you're Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie. Yeah, she is a great Harley Quinn.
She's got that one good scene in that Wolf of Wall Street movie, doesn't she?
Of course you'd bring that up.
I've actually never watched Wolf of Wall Street.
The Duchess.
I've seen the clips.
The Duchess.
I've seen the clips.
The Duchess.
The leg, the leg scene.
They say that's one of the most paused movie scenes ever. That and She's the Man during the soccer scene.
One?
She's the Man is Amanda Bynes. I think she was probably I'm not sure. She was probably, that was a while ago, but she probably in her 20s, but she pretended to be her brother so she could play on the men's soccer team because she was disrespected at her school. My aunt introduced me to that movie, and I loved it. That was probably the first movie I've ever seen Channing Tatum in. And
Channing Tatum?
Yes, that was one of the first movies I've ever seen Channing Tatum in, and he did great.
I thought his career started at 21st Jump Street. Isn't that when he really exploded? 20
Well,
or
I think he was
Street?
already up and coming.
Really?
I don't know what came out.
I think that movie put him into way bigger.
Well, he was also in the G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, I think it was called. I don't know if that came out before 21 Jump Street, but that was also a big role for him. I thought that was a pretty
G.I. Joe. I think I've seen that movie at one point.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a fever dream. It was just one of those action movies,
Yeah, I think the first one did pretty good. I don't think the sequel did real well.
Isn't so speaking of most paused scenes in movie, isn't that one movie? There's one movie. It's called the not The Fifth Element. It's one of those other movies, Primal Instinct or Hidden. One of those movies. Something Instinct. Hidden Instinct? I don't remember what it's called. Oh, we'll get corrected on it. But there's a famous scene in that movie where there is a blonde gal sitting in a chair, and she's got, her legs, crossed or whatever. And so there's a moment in that film where she starts to adjust her legs just a little bit, where she recrosses her legs on the other side. I think that might be another notable people pausing every single frame of that movie just to try to see something.
Yeah, I hear you.
Something. And then I remember another one. It was I think it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You ever watch that one?
I might have.
That one I remember. There was a scene. There was a pretty iconic scene in that movie where they're just trying to get every single angle. There's a lot of those in movies.
Oh,
where they just throw in little hidden
Well, the only reason I mention that is because Snapchat. You go in all those. You go to the below the stories. There's all those things on there, and that was just one of the things I clicked on. It said most paused movies of all time, and it was Wolf of Wall Street, She's the Man, when Amanda Bynes lifts her shirt up. And it's just kind of laughable.
Right.
It's figures those would be the most paused moments of all time.
Of course, fucking Hollywood's doing Hollywood stuff, and they're gonna do whatever, to drive attention to their film, and I think they put those scenes in there to generate buzz, oh my God, you got to see this part, kind of,
Well, yeah,
some of that is shock, but back to
Shock value.
back to Joker 2. Yeah, that movie is bombing right now. It's like we've had a lot of terrible movies out this year. A lot of terrible movies.
Okay, well, what did you think of the third Deadpool? I haven't seen it yet. I love Deadpool.
Oh, it was amazing.
I love Deadpool.
You haven't seen Deadpool yet?
I have not.
Boy.
And Deadpool is one of my favorite movies because
Yeah,
the first one, the pop culture references are just hilarious.
I saw that. I saw that in theaters on. I think it was the second day that was out. So I didn't see it opening night. I saw it the second day.
I mean, I saw it did really well because I always go to Wikipedia and look at the box office.
It made
money.
over $1 billion. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it was about time they add Wolverine to it. I mean,
well, no one thought Hugh Jackman was coming back.
Yeah, but he did, and that's amazing
Yeah.
because the references from the first one,
Right.
What did I have to do to get my very own movie? I can't tell you, but it does rhyme with Pulverine.
Pulverine.
I mean, that's just hilarious.
Deadpool and Wolverine was actually, a good film. It was actually a really solid film. I saw it in IMAX.
Oh, I bet that was pretty cool.
Saw it in IMAX. It was I think it was only showing in IMAX, actually. It was the only one, so I'm like, screw it. Let's go to the IMAX one. And, there was a fair amount of people in there, not as, probably not as crazy as opening night. But, that movie's really good. I feel like almost a little bit the Deadpool formula, you can definitely tell this movie was filmed during a writer's strike.
Why do you say that?
Because, bits and pieces of that movie kind of get a little lost a little bit, like the writers, you can tell this movie had like a break, and some of the plot points didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't really come together very well.
Deadpool movies are always a little sporadic,
right? But
the second one especially is a little sporadic.
Yeah, but this one's even, I'd say, more sporadic than that, where. Yeah, it just, some of the scenes, probably could have been fleshed out a little bit better. The cameos in this movie were amazing.
I bet. I can't wait to see. I bet there's some cool cameos. I didn't realize, I can't remember who it was in the second Deadpool. The guy, remember he forms his team? He forms his team of superheroes, and the one guy, parachutes out and he dies.
Yeah.
I think they said that was Brad Pitt or somebody. Maybe it wasn't Brad Pitt, but there was some big actor who played that guy.
He plays a film. He plays a role in the next film. I don't know if it's
Deadpool 2?
In Deadpool 3 too.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if that was Brad Pitt. I know they snuck in some cameos in that movie, but I don't know if it was Brad Pitt for sure.
Let's ask our fact checker, Mantha.
Our fact checker
Mantha?
over there.
Who was it in the second
Deadpool
one?
2 cast.
There was a big name actor who was on Deadpool's team, and he died right away because I think he hit some power lines or something like that.
Yeah, then he's saved at the end of the movie in the post-credit scene.
Yes. Who
or whatever. But
nope.
No, you didn't find it. Yeah, I don't know.
I thought it was Matt Damon.
No,
Matt Damon was in Deadpool 2. I
yeah,
guess,
he was.
But I don't remember that.
He was. He was
Brad
one of
Pitt or
the.
something.
I'm pretty sure he was one of the like a farmer or something like that. He had a brief cameo. He was in a very under kind of role. You wouldn't know until you looked at the casting list.
I know those are the sneaky cameos.
Yeah. But Deadpool was great. Deadpool Wolverine was good film. I'm excited to see where they end up with that, in future kind of stuff, especially since Deadpool's now in the, Marvel universe now. And, Marvel movies haven't been instilling me with the best confidence lately, on a personal note, because I have really fallen off the Marvel train. They just, the movies haven't been what they used to be. And it's kind of sad that they can't really publish any other movies, that aren't like the Avengers and it be a good film. There were some of them. I like Shang-Chi. You ever watch Shang-Chi? And the 7 rings or 9 rings or whatever it's called.
I don't believe I did.
That was actually a pretty solid film. I think they're coming out with the second one of that. But other than that, I haven't watched any Marvel movies after, besides like Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's one of my favorites.
Do you like the new Spider-Man? He's put out not new anymore. He's put out like 4 movies. See,
What,
I'm a
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. I'm a Tobey Maguire guy all the way.
I'm
Like
a Tobey Maguire.
I'm still
rider
mad that
every
they didn't
day.
make a 4th one. Like I was a Tobey Maguire guy all the way. I didn't even watch the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Like I feel like they.
You didn't like Andrew Garfield?
No, and I mean they must not have liked him either because they only did 2 movies and he was gone.
He was pretty solid. I think
I don't know
if
what
you
happened,
watch
but
No
they
Way
never did
Home,
third one.
you definitely appreciate Andrew Garfield being Spider-Man more and more.
Is that the one where Tobey Maguire was in too?
Yeah,
With
yeah,
Tom Holland, they
No Way Home.
brought them all 3
yeah.
back. Some kind of weird multiverse timeline.
Yeah, the third
The
one.
thing that Spider-Man's been really big into lately, multiverse.
Well, and that's all the Marvel films, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just excited for more Spider-Verse to come out. Into the Spider, like
like Miles Morales?
yeah, the animated,
Yeah, that was a really good movie.
So the
Very
first
good
2
song,
came
too.
out. I saw them both in theaters. They were awesome. And now Across the Spider-Verse might take a little while. That's the third one. That might take a little while, like 2026 to come out, maybe.
Well, I have noticed, like, I played Spider-Man 2, and I noticed, I mean, even on Miles Morales, he got his own game, but now all the Spider-Man games, it's like Peter Parker and Miles Morales, so it's kind of cool. You got 2 characters.
It wasn't that like Spider-Man's final Spider-Man game, like actual Peter Parker being Spider-Man. Now it's all
Was it?
Miles. I'm
I
pretty
didn't
sure.
play all the way through. I played
Oh.
some of it, but
I think, maybe spoiler on that one.
oh,
Maybe a slight.
well, you
spoiler.
gotta say spoiler alert. You
maybe
just
a slight
ruined the whole.
spoiler on
You
that.
just ruined the whole series for me. Come on, man.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, Spider-Man, has always been one of my favorite. I would always have like Spider-Man shirts I would wear all the time, like as a kid. I remember having like this one Spider-Man shirt, like from the first Spider-Man movie, and it was one of my favorite shirts to wear like all the time.
I hear you. I'm pretty sure I was Spider-Man for Halloween one year because that was the cool
Yeah.
thing.
I had Spider-Man pajamas. I had like Spider-Man walkie-talkies. I remember at one point.
Or the web shooter that shot the
Yeah,
fake
the
webs.
web
That was like the
shooters.
coolest thing ever when I was a kid.
Yeah. I remember getting all those. But yeah, I'd say movies aren't what they used to be. I feel like there's so many sequels coming out to movies nowadays that it's they're really cashing in on the nostalgia factor. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see them cash so hard on nostalgia. I would like to see new, genuine IPs in films, but why would Hollywood abandon what's worked for them in the past? People love these characters. People want to see these characters. So why stop? But especially with the Joker coming out too. With the Joker coming out, that seemed to backfire a lot, and they took it in a musical direction, which a lot of people didn't expect.
Yeah, I do like a good musical, but I don't want to be surprised by a musical.
Yeah,
Like, I love the musical The Greatest Showman with Hugh Jackman.
Zac Efron too.
Yeah,
Zac
Zac
Efron,
Efron,
yeah.
Hugh Jackman, Zendaya.
She was in
great. Yes,
I didn't remember. I'd
she was
never seen it.
the acrobat in
Oh.
there. Great movie,
Mm.
but there's a time and place for a musical, and if you don't think a movie is going to be a musical, then it's kind of like a turnoff when it is a musical, and you're like, that's not what I was expecting. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I think Great Showman was supposed to be, a musical.
well, yeah,
Like,
that
it
was
was supposed to be.
yeah, and I'm saying like there's a good,
Yeah.
and I love that musical, but I'm saying like the Joker one
It wasn't.
wasn't a musical,
Nope,
and
not
the
at all.
second one was, and that probably threw people off.
Oh,
because,
for sure.
Yeah,
For
like
sure.
if something's supposed to be a musical, like it's going to be a musical. Like they're making a Wicked movie, and I think that's
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
great.
That's
I think
fair.
it's going to be a great movie.
I think so.
Me and my wife will probably go see it, but
Yeah.
that's a musical. The
Mhm.
Joker 2, I had no idea that was a musical.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's probably. We'll see what the box office ends up. It might. I don't think it'll. looking at it right now, seeing reviews and everything, I don't think it will anywhere near make their money back
So
on it.
probably
I don't
not
know how
gonna be
much
a
they spent on it, but yeah, it just seems like there's so many flops nowadays.
probably not gonna be a third one.
No, after
Well, I
this.
feel like Hollywood kind of does the same song and dance over and over again, and it's maybe that's why they're having so many flops.
Yeah, well, but then they try, one of my favorite game franchises, Borderlands. You ever play any of the Borderlands games?
I did not. I know they're pretty popular.
So Borderlands is like one of my favorite game franchises, especially
Right.
the second one.
Right.
I have very, very fond memories playing that. And,
Okay.
they came out with the Borderlands movies. It's probably been in production for like the last, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. And it came out, and it was one of the worst movies to premiere. It was one of the worst.
Well, see, sometimes good games get done dirty. Or
Well,
good
and
shows too. I mean, we both love Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we
Yeah,
could say M.
yeah.
Night did not do that movie any justice.
Well, yeah. But, I kind of almost thought we were past that point. I thought we were
Like
past
we've
the
learned
point
from our
of-
mistakes.
of bad adaptations from, like, say, animated media, or video game media too. Because with like, say, like Sonic the Hedgehog, that it wasn't looking promising at first, and then they turned around and then redid the movie pretty much with an updated design, and that movie did very successful. And then, like, say for like TV shows too, you have the Fallout series on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Yeah.
And that did really successful too. It was a good adaptation. They didn't stray too far away.
I gotta watch that because I really liked Fallout 4.
Yeah, a lot of people really enjoyed the Fallout franchise, the series that came out. So there's been a lot of really good, adaptations recently. And so I think people thought, oh, okay, I guess we're over it, of bad adaptations from other mediums. Everything will be good now. Turns out that's not the case. That's not the case.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
What would you say, like, the worst movie that you think you've ever seen before? What's like
I
that
to
you
bring
sat
it-
through?
to bring it back, I gotta say it was The Last Airbender, M. Night Shyamalan.
Really?
Because it was just bad. I mean, you watching the show as a kid, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and
Good
watching them
show, good
pronounce
show.
the names wrong,
Ong.
Ong and Sokka, and
I think Katara was. I don't remember.
it's
that.
it was sickening because it's such a great show.
I remember watching
and-
that movie in theaters.
And maybe they were trying to do like the actual pronunciations, but I mean the creators
Yeah.
of the animated show,
Mm.
they made it a certain way, and that's what everybody's used to. So you go and call someone Ong instead of Ang.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, you're gonna lose like everybody. I mean, it just wasn't well put together, and I think
Right.
the new Avatar: The Last Airbender show, I think it did all right. I think the CGI and stuff has come a long way where they can make it more realistic than maybe back then. But yeah, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and I think everybody that loves Avatar: The Last Airbender would agree that movie by M. Night and is a terrible movie. And that's not ripping on him because he's had some good movies like Split
yeah,
and that
legendary director.
the new movie. I can't think of what it's called, but the serial killer that goes to the concert with his daughter. That was
yeah.
a Trap. That was a really good movie.
You
Like,
watched
in my
that?
opinion. Yes, I did.
Oh well.
I read it.
I
'cause
saw a
I've-
preview of that. I saw
Well,
a preview.
They got me because there was
Oh, they got you.
well because my podcast. I heard the
Oh.
advertisement for Trap like 100 times before
Ah.
it came out, and they got me. Advertisements do work.
Yeah, the advertising actually worked.
Yes, they got me to watch that movie,
I
and
see.
I thought it was pretty good.
And it was good.
Yeah, I thought
That's
it was
good.
pretty good.
That's good.
But if you want to go back to like video game to movie adaptations, a really good one I thought was I'm struggling. My dad played the games a lot. Uncharted.
Oh, the Tom
Uncharted.
the
Tom
Tom
Holland. Yeah,
Holland.
if you want to talk Tom Holland, he was a great Nathan Drake, and they had Mark Wahlberg as Sully.
Right.
Without
right.
Mark Wahlberg, he is a great actor. I'm really crushing on Mark Wahlberg as an actor. Like I think he's great.
He's got some good films.
Yeah, Ted.
Yeah, he's got really good films.
Uncharted. The one where him and his wife adopt a couple kids from foster care. That's also a really good one. I mean, The one about the Boston bombing. I mean, he's been in a
Yeah.
lot of good movies.
Yeah, he
Mark
was in that
Wahlberg
one,
is
too.
just a great actor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's good. He's a good actor. I haven't seen the Uncharted movies. All I heard, it was kind of divisive or whatever. Like it wasn't like super divisive, but it was just like, well, it's an Uncharted movie. You know, you have popular actor like Tom Holland. Being
It's
cast
probably
in
gonna
a
do
ton of
pretty well.
roles. People a lot of people thought like it probably shouldn't be Tom Holland being Nathan Drake.
Well, he was a young Nathan Drake. I mean,
Yeah,
the games Nathan Drake's probably like in his 30s or 40s. But this was a young
like
Nathan
late
Drake.
20s maybe. Yeah. So, I never personally did see it.
I would recommend.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I would recommend just for Mark Wahlberg as Sully because he does such a good job in that movie.
Mm.
Like his humor, it's funny.
Right. Yeah, there's been, I would say there's been a lot of bad adaptations compared to a lot of good adaptations. Like,
Well, I mean,
when you look at the whole like spectrum, like the whole timeline of like things getting adapted, I would say there's been a lot of bad to just a little bit of good. But I feel like that was changing. But as of recent, now I don't see that anymore. I see, oh no, more bad adaptations are coming
see him
out.
making
Why
the
is
same
this happening?
mistakes
Yeah.
over
why
and
are
over
we
again.
treading back on old ground? I thought we were over this.
I think it also just depends who's the director, who's creating the movie.
True.
I mean,
True.
and I think it's also just a lot of, it's like baseball. It's a lot of swings and misses, and
Mm-hmm.
it only takes one person to hit a home run, and every once in a while you get a home run, and a lot of times you don't. So you put a lot of movies out, and they're not all going to be good.
Right.
There's some swings and misses people don't like. You're like, oh, I think this is going to be great, and people don't actually like it. And there's going to be ones where you're like, I didn't think that was going to be very good, and then it was good. And that's with everything, music, video games, because a lot of people thought Cyberpunk was going to be great, and I didn't care for it.
The video game, right?
Yeah, the video game.
Oh, the adaptation was amazing.
Yes, but the video game
Yeah.
was bad.
I think that it's a lot better now. It's in its final stages of that game, and I think that game has actually turned out to be really amazing, realistic, in a sense of people like modding it and making it look like real life. But yeah, when that game came out, it was
and it kind of set the
it was
tone.
a mess.
I'm not gonna lie, it kind of set the tone for because that came out right after COVID, right?
No, that came out before COVID.
It came out before COVID, but it
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
set
it came out 2018, 19 or something
but it
like that.
kind of set the tone for video games because everybody said we don't want to pull a Cyberpunk. Let's make sure this game is right before we release it. Like Hogwarts Legacy got delayed at least 3 times
At the same time,
because of that.
don't believe in that too. I think video game publishers are rushing to put out a game as fast as possible to meet deadlines.
Well, unless it's Rockstar, because we've been waiting for that forever, right?
Yeah, well, GTA 6. Honestly, let them cook.
Yeah.
let
I
'em
mean,
do
it's
their
going to be
stuff.
worth it. I assume it's going to be worth it.
But yeah, it seems like AAA games have kind of been more rushed nowadays.
You think so?
Not a lot of polish. Like there's a lot of corners being cut. I think personally, to where they'll release a game and then the game is released. All right, we'll fix the game with like future patch notes. We'll fix it with future patch notes. So I don't know. That's especially when it comes to like games being released on all platforms. They got to cater to all platforms or whatever to make sure it's an optimal experience on there.
Right.
That doesn't seem to happen. Like look at like the Nintendo Switch. Do you think they're really caring about the Nintendo Switch when they release like?
Well, a lot of games on Switch come out a lot later.
Yeah.
And the ones that aren't like Mario games don't play
Nintendo
very well.
First party games, yeah.
Yeah,
those are- yeah.
like I would know from experience. I played Skyrim on there,
Yeah.
and the graphics are pretty bad
I
compared
think
to
like
playing
Doom
on
Eternal
PS5.
came out on that. You th-
Like there's some big games that probably shouldn't be on Switch.
yeah,
And
but
we can
they,
always
you
talk.
know,
We can always talk about that more next time.
mm,
In the second episode, we might get more into video games. I'll let you get back to the movie aspect.
oh. Well, I don't know how much more I have on movies. Quite like, I don't know. My movie. All right. Well, so you said your worst movie was the M Night Shyamalan, the
Yeah.
Last Airbender.
Well,
Right?
what's your favorite movie?
Oh, well, before I get into that, I want to say my
Yeah, go ahead and
worst
say your worst movie,
my
then
worst
say your
movie
favorite movie.
was a little gem called Moonfall. Have you ever heard of a movie called Moonfall?
I have not.
So it was a movie that was released. I want to say maybe tail end 2021 to 2022.
Okay.
So it was a movie that got released, and Moonfall, as you can imagine from the title, the moon is falling from the sky. The moon is falling from the sky, and it's up to like our heroes, which are basic ass dudes, to prevent the moon from falling from the sky.
Man, that sounds like my kind of movie. Basic ass dudes. That's me by a T.
Yeah, this movie was not it. This movie, oh man. So to give some perspective, where I was at when I was watching this movie, I was staying at a hotel at the time. It is like 2 a.m. at this point, and I was on like an HBO channel, and all of a sudden, Moonfall starts appearing on the TV. I'm like, huh, I think I heard of this movie before. I'm like, isn't this the movie where it's like not very good? Like, I was curious. I'm like, oh, it's like one of these world disaster movies. I'm like, but I've heard like some bad reviews of it. I'm like, is it actually true? And so here I am, just laying in my bed, struggling to fall asleep, and I'm watching this Moonfall movie. And this movie is a glorious disaster of a movie. Oh man, it is like you can't take your eyes off the screen when you're watching.
It's
this
so
movie.
bad you got to keep
It's
watching.
so bad you got to keep on going. And
Wow, maybe that's what they were going for.
and when you think the movie's over and concluded, it keeps on going further. Think the movie's done and over, it keeps on going. It just keeps on ramping up to absurdity. And like I had no words watching this movie. I'm like, this movie is one of the worst, but one of the greatest movies I think I've ever seen.
Oh boy, that's a
Moonfall.
way to put it.
Yeah,
It's good, but it's
is-
bad.
It is a crazy, crazy amounts of like you just can't take your eyes off the screen because of how much of a
Like cringe bad or
no. It's just a train wreck of a film, but it's like a glorious train wreck about trying to stop the moon from falling to the sky. But hey, turns out, spoiler for the movie if you ever want to watch Moonfall, turns out the moon's not actually the moon. It's actually like a Dyson sphere. It's like an alien-made structure. The moon is an alien-made structure in the sky. And I don't know if the power source went out on it, but whatever. It got out of polarity, then it was falling to the earth. So then they just it seems like a standard movie, like say like to a kin of like 2012. Did you ever watch 2012, the world disaster movie?
no? Because I
No.
knew it was gonna be cheesy.
It wasn't terrible. It was okay. Yeah, it was like that. So I thought, okay, this is going to be pretty generic. You know, they're going to prevent the moon from falling out of the sky because they're going to do something. They're going to fly up to the moon, put like something on the moon. They were trying to blow up the moon at one point to just cease existence. So they were like locking all the missiles onto the moon out of the whole entire Earth to blow the moon out of the sky or whatever. But yeah, then it turns out the moon wasn't a moon. It was like a giant Dyson sphere, which was like an alien-made structure. And then aliens start getting involved into the movie.
Boy, this sounds like a wild movie.
And it's just, God, like I can't even describe. Like
Sounds like a beautiful disaster.
I was just taking a gasp from this movie. It was just, like I have no words. I have no words. I can't even think. I have to watch it again to
Yeah, I
like.
might have to watch it. It
You
sounds
might need to
terrible, but
watch it. It was
okay.
bad. And then after that movie, then the Batman started playing. I'm like, okay, this is a good
The
movie.
Batman, we talking like
the Batman,
like
new
the
one, the new one.
Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh boy.
That's the one. That's actually a pretty solid movie. I
Yeah,
will say.
very dark but solid.
But yeah, it was that was a kooky night because at that time I was still working night shift. At the time, I used to work night shift for a while, and my sleep schedule was completely messed up. It was just like
Yeah, I don't
I
know
was
how you did that.
struggling. I was struggling big time to change over my schedule to a night to a day schedule, which you think it would be easy.
No, it's
You
not.
think you'd be like, okay, I'll fall asleep at like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever, and then wake up and I'll be on my, I wake up at 7 a.m. No, that doesn't work. Doesn't work.
I hear
And,
you.
I had a terrible. I felt like a zombie that whole entire trip. It was bad. But that's story for another time, I guess.
right. Content for
Yeah,
future episodes.
yeah. That's for a future.
All right. So what was your favorite movie? Because we
what was
better.
my favorite movie.
We'll probably wrap it up here soon on this first episode, but let's hear what your favorite movie was.
We're ending on movies. Let's see. If I had to say what my favorite film was, there's been some. Yeah, honestly, I'm not a huge movie watcher. Like not.
That's okay. You're more of a TV show.
Yeah, more of a TV show watcher.
Well, there is a
like,
lot more
it's
TV
hard
shows
to get me to.
than there is movies lately.
It's hard to get me to sit down. Like someone will recommend a movie, and be like, "Hey, you gotta watch this movie." And I'm like, that sounds like a long time. That sounds like a 2-hour endeavor.
I hear you. I like to just kind of watch a show and like pick up on the episode later on.
And when every single Netflix episode is like, an hour and a half or something like that, what's the difference between a movie and a Netflix show or whatever at this point? But yeah, like I don't know. If I had to say what my favorite movie is, I would probably say one of my childhood favorite movies, 8 Below.
Is that the one with Paul Walker?
I don't know.
Is that the one where his dogs get stuck and
That's the sled dog.
they have to live on their Yeah, that Paul Walker.
Yeah, the sled dog
legendary
ones
actor.
where they live
Rest
in
in peace, Paul
Antarctica.
Walker.
Where they
But-
live in Antarctica.
Yes.
And then they get separated from their sled dogs.
Yes.
And then they're out like living their lives.
But that's a sad movie because the one dog is so obedient to Paul Walker
that
that he just dies in the snow.
Yeah, and I cried at that. That was
horrible.
Genuinely, I think that was the first time I ever cried at a film.
Like he was so obedient to his master. He
Yeah.
told him to stay and he stayed.
Yeah, I think honestly that was the first movie that I ever cried at, and I think that was like a point in my life where I'm like, man, this movie was great, and I love dogs.
Yeah. Dog movies, man, they get you.
I love the
Marley
dog
and
movies,
Me,
and
8
I
Below.
thought it was just like cinema. I'm like, oh my god, like this movie was great.
Sad but
And-
great.
Yeah, it was sad but great. Yeah, I would say, yeah, childhood movie. 8 Below.
It's sad, man. Like let's make more dog movies where the dog doesn't die at the end, please.
Yeah, because then you have like Marley and Me.
Yeah, and the
Dog
dog
dies at the end there.
Yeah, I know. Let's make more movies where the dog doesn't die at the end
You got
because
Old Yeller. Dog dies.
or
at
where
end
the
of
red
there.
fern grows. I believe the dogs died in that
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah. Did they make a movie for that?
It was a book. I don't know if they made a movie, but
Oh,
it's like
yeah,
every
where the red fern grows.
every
yeah.
dog
I
movie.
remember
It's like
that
the
one.
dogs die at the end, and it's like you're killing me, man.
There was
You're
another
killing me.
sled dog movie that came out. I remember reading it in like middle school, and we watched a movie for it. And that dog died at the end too. What's up with dogs dying?
Do you remember the was it Balto? I can't remember what the
Balto? Yeah, I remember. I don't.
those were
never
good
seen-
movies, sled dog movies.
I
Like that
never
was
seen
big back
Balto.
in the early 2000s, and the one with Cuba Gooding Jr. Snow Dogs. That was another good one.
And same with like I was a big sucker for all the Beethoven movies.
Beethoven,
Beethoven and like Air Buddies.
Air Bud,
Air
yeah.
Buddies, Snow Buddies.
For sure, man.
Dogs doing basketball and tennis. and whatnot. Yeah, I would say good wholesome.
Yeah, like
Eight
a lot
Below.
of dog movies back in the early 2000s.
I would say Eight Below, just because I like huskies. I'm a big fan
I
of the
know
huskies.
it would. I want to. If I ever got a husky, I'd get a mini.
No, yeah.
Yeah, because like a big old husky, that'd be too much for me in my little yard.
Right.
I'd have a mini.
Okay. What's your favorite movie?
Oh boy.
You didn't expect me to change the question on you.
It's a tie between Napoleon Dynamite
Oh, yeah.
and Deadpool.
Well, really, Deadpool.
Deadpool like changed my movie life. Like the references, like
Yeah.
the pop culture references, like Wham and oh my god, just so many references. It's so
Well,
funny because my dad obviously grew up in the 80s and like so much passed that on to us, like old
Yeah.
movies and stuff and music.
I would say Napoleon.
Napoleon Dynamite is a
iconic.
classic. Like a
It's-
lot of
it's
people are like,
iconic.
that movie's so dumb, and I'm like, it's dumb but funny.
There's some good.
I'm definitely into dumb humor.
Yeah, there's some good scenes in
Like-
Napoleon Dynamite. I would
Like
say.
I'm always referencing Uncle Rico and
Uncle Rico.
Rex Kwando.
Rex Kwando.
It's Rex Kwando.
Rex Kwando. Yeah.
Peter Pan over here.
Didn't you go as Napoleon Dynamite? As,
I did. You were there.
for
You were there.
Halloween?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
one
was.
year.
I was Napoleon Dynamite for Halloween, and it was
You were a
hilarious.
good Napoleon.
I know, but I should have done the Rex Kwando thing. 'Cause I can
Maybe.
It's
yeah.
Rex Kwando.
That would have been cool.
You think I got rammed today by being Peter Pan over here?
You would have got some. You would have got some brownie points for that one for sure.
Yeah, and then of course the night that I was Napoleon Dynamite the next year, somebody was Rex Kwando.
Oh, hey, that's
Somebody
that's
I
a
went to
good
high school
collab
with
right
that I
there.
didn't necessarily want to see, and I was like,
Oh,
oh,
I see.
I would love to be Rex Kwando.
They shall not be, named.
Like-
They'll never listen to this, but that's funny.
Yeah, I know. Like
That's
Napoleon
funny.
Dynamite, like every character in there is hilarious. Like Kip. Napoleon, we both know I'm trained to become a cage fighter. You have the worst reflexes ever, Kip. It's just an awesome movie.
It really is.
It's
Awesome.
like some people think it's dumb. I think it's funny.
No,
I'm
it's
into
funny.
dumb humor.
It's that funny, good, dumb humor that you can just appreciate.
And I think it's like made in like Utah or somewhere, so it's
No,
funny because they're just
no.
like in that weird. Like it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I get you.
favorite movie / Deadpool.
I get you. All right. Well, that was good movie talk. That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
I would say. All right, everyone.
We're gonna
Well, thank
wrap it
you.
up.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. How long have we been going? We've been going for let's see. Oh, an hour and 42 minutes we've been going.
Yes, but
That's pretty
tune
wild.
in for the next episode.
Yeah, thank you.
The
for,
Midwest
um,
Take.
Yeah.
Two guys starting a podcast. We just love to BS and it's even if no one listens to this podcast, it's worth it for us because we're just good friends and we enjoy talking about random subjects. And if you enjoy it, listen.
Yeah, and if you sat through a hour and 42 minutes of us just rambling about whatever pops up into our head, props to you. I know I probably wouldn't be able to do that, but thank you, the lovely listeners, if you did. This has been episode 1 of the Midwest Take podcast, and I'm Jacob,
And I'm Josh.
and we're signing out. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks. We just love to BS and it's even if no one listens to this podcast, it's worth it for us because we're just good friends and we enjoy talking about random subjects. And if you enjoy it, listen.
Yeah, and if you sat through a hour and 42 minutes of us just rambling about whatever pops up into our head, props to you. I know I probably wouldn't be able to do that, but thank you, the lovely listeners, if you did. This has been episode 1 of the Midwest Take podcast, and I'm Jacob,
And I'm Josh.
and we're signing out. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.